What is good, rookies? Welcome to our round 8 trade talk, talking injuries, talking VCs, and obviously talking trades. Now, you'll notice the overlay hasn't changed purely because this week we're undecided on what we're going to do. There are many options. We can jump off our sort of fat cash cows early and get into primo. We can hold fast and not do any trades at all and wait till some rookies are really on the bubble before jumping early, or we can send it with some sideways. Don't recommend. But before we do all that, you know what we got to go to first? We got to go to the injuries. We got to see what might be affecting our trades this week. So we're going to blitz through this. Nothing interesting happening at Adelaide. At Brisbane, Lohman is a test. We also have Holman coming back. So he is coming back through the VFL with this. So keep that in mind. So he's going to run it out in the VFL first before returning to AFL. So not a panic station just yet for Zorko. We're still unsure if there's going to be any influence. We've seen Wilmot and Fletcher gain a bit more traction in the team, which may have influenced Zorko's scoring. But again, he turned up for us last week. So I'm really not sure how I land on the Zorko pick at the moment. He's great value at his price at the moment. But something to keep in mind is that Coleman will be at some point being injected into the team after getting back to match fitness in the VFL and whatnot. So still unsure when that is, but definitely keep that in mind. Carlton's an interesting one. Chera, our man, Mr. Consistent, has somehow copped a 1 week suspension for his little shove in I would dare say, a contest centre bounce. Absolutely ridiculous by the MRO. They are going to challenge it, but at the time of recording, it's happening tomorrow morning. Pay attention on X and Twitter just to get the final verdict on that. Surely it's just a fine or whatever it is. It's absolutely ridiculous that there's even a conversation or anything happening regarding this. Absolutely crazy. But keep an eye on Chera. He may cop a 1 week. That might be enough for some of you to move him on to a keeper. He might have been that stepping stone. I still think he's doing enough and will probably look to hold. I don't mind, necessarily holding for 1 week and getting a decent rookie on field and playing it out that way. So that's fine too. Outside of that, Williams is done for his calf, 2 to 3 weeks. We've got Silvani out with a broken hand for 1 to 2. This could mean some movements, but in regards to like a Carroll, this is probably really good for us job security wise with Silvani being out. Probably locks in some better job security. Outside of that, not really sure what else moves around. Collingwood, nothing crazy to talk about. Essendon, nothing either. Caldwell is still 1 week away. But we are seeing Sardis absolutely do amazing numbers in VFL. We should hopefully see him come back into the team. He was a late out in the VFL for the turnaround, so he doesn't have a 5-day break for the clash Thursday night against the Roos. So we might actually see Sardis come back into the side, which will make him a downgrade option in a week where we lack the very thing. So definitely keep an eye on that for team sheets dropping tomorrow night to see if Sardis is named. Now, if he is sub, probably still don't go there. He's still probably hard to put in the conversation, but you'll know an hour before the game whether he's an option or not. So just make sure if you are looking at him that you do pay attention to who is named sub, because that will ultimately determine whether he's a trade-in or not. In Fremantle, Luke Jackson is a test. We have Voss suspended till round 9. This is more important if you're looking at Omac, who's really the only rookie on the bubble at the moment. So he's come in as that kind of tall forward that's assisting in the ruck, doing a chop out for Darcy, has actually played quite well. It will be a shame to see him instantly kind of swapped out for Jackson, considering that is more of Jackson's role. I'm not sure if they try to swing him into defense or if they do anything that moves him around. It will be really interesting to see team sheets because most are assuming that Omac pretty much loses his spot to Dogger or Voss when he comes back in. So the job security isn't great on Omac. So again, not really ripe for the picking in my opinion. In regards to Geelong's injury list, nothing too crazy here. Henry's still out for 1 to 3. Myers is not coming back into the team as yet. He's still recovering from that concussion in round 6, which really hurt Geelong, I think. We saw on the weekend, my boys lost to the Blues. The Cats, the Cattery, they're frauds. It's It's horrible. Did not see that one happening. Just, yeah, really disappointing. But you really see how important Myers is to their flow of the game. But outside of that, nothing too crazy to really talk about. Colo is back in the VFL, but coming in slowly. So he's not putting his hand up instantly with Connor O'Sullivan's performance to do a swap out. So I would be fairly confident in Connor O'Sullivan's job security at the moment, which is quite surprising considering that he's had his spike games and low games and cashed in potentially restart and all this fun stuff. Colossi as well has been doing quite well in the VFL, doing 13 tackles, 24 touches, and 8 clearances. So he's definitely banging down the door to try and get that best 22 spot under his belt. Still, again, not sure where he sits as an option. There has been price changes around him as well. Nothing interesting at the Suns or the Giants. Hawthorn, nothing too crazy here. Amon and Scrimshaw will miss this week due to concussion protocols. Husway is obviously one that is coming for Nash. There is a lot of discussion around what happens when Nash is back. You might have to see like a Josh Ward potentially move around or lose his spot. He's really only looking to be the only like trade-in target that we can confidently go on early if we needed to make some moves this week. Bustlinger, I wouldn't do that. It was a straight swap for Liam Jones. He's pretty much fighting for that spot. He could be taken out at any point, whereas we know we kind of get 3-4 weeks with Husway. So just one to watch. Be interesting to see how the Hawks team lineup changes given the outs. But just keep an eye on that for Husway if we're looking to downgrade to him this week. We have nothing too crazy here. Melksham is available back again into the team. I don't think it's going to change too much. You got Van Rooyen and Aiden Johnson coming back and doing good things in the VFL, that lower level. AJ popping up is technically on the bubble. So if he does get named and isn't sub or anything like that, which I don't imagine he would be, could be a potential option. So one to watch again for team sheets. North Melbourne, absolutely disgusting things from this suspension. 3 weeks for his tackle. Now, I understand it was concussion, all that sort of stuff, but this is like we're turning into touch footy. Like I've seen netballers get hit harder than this and cop nothing. It's a real MRO are just behind the times. I don't believe they actually watch footy. They just hear of, someone hit their head and got a concussion, bang, 3 weeks. There's no context. There's no relationship between the game and the MRO. It's just a very old system that does not work. Disappointing for the Roos because he has been really informed for them in the forward line. Will be interesting to see what happens with the team lineup as well. Fisher is available, but the word is that Sheasel's been training the halfback position, which is awesome from a Supercoach perspective. But again, just keep an eye on team sheets because depending on who's named to fill in some spots, they're going to have to bring someone in for that Paul Curtis small forward role. So we'll see what happens there. Port Adelaide, nothing too crazy here. Obviously, Sin's out with that concussion. Boak's out. Really, Marias is lackluster as he has been. He's probably had the best job security, kind of the underdog of job security for rookies. Continually being named on wing, has consistent scoring around the 50s. We've seen a spike score if it's up on his wing for most of the game. I don't think he's a trade out just yet. And we'll go through my team and the rookies that I have and the hopes that we have for that. But yeah, Marias is an underdog for job security for sure. Nothing to really talk about for Richmond. Smiley, we do have recorded 24 touches and 5 clearances and a beatdown apparently. So he's definitely trying to get a crack at the best 22, 23. So we're hoping that he slowly somehow pops his head up as a downgrade option. A little bit more expensive from memory, but still an option nonetheless if he can finally crack into the side. The only real interesting one here from St Kilda is Philippou. Now, he's a test. So it'll be interesting to see how things shift. Garcia's role, Max Hall's role, once Philippou's back in pretty much in fashion. They might send me through the VFL. They're unsure. We haven't heard any main reports on if he's going straight into the team at AFL or if they want to warm him up through the VFL. So just keep an eye on that. But he is coming soon. So very exciting stuff. Decent downgrade option as well as Coleman, jumping back to Brisbane. If he is in form and looks great, obviously he's had a lot of injury concerns, so I'm not sure if that's up to the standards of some super coaches in regards to injury tolerance, but it's a cheap option in the defensive line that could provide decent scoring. For Sydney, Really, the main one here is Mills. 1 to 2 weeks is pretty much on a week-to-week basis. He's going for, couldn't complete all the team training last week, so wasn't named. Trying that again this week, see if he's named. Go from there. So nothing really crazy here. Patton has done his calf, unfortunately. So he came in, played, was looking pretty good too. And then at halftime got subbed out with a calf issue. So it is what it is. Adams as well, 1 week away. Amadi, 2 to 3 weeks away. So it looks like someone like a Cleary is gaining some good job security as well. He's played quite well overall. He's had 2 games in the 80s, 1 in the 30s. Just, yeah, overall, good player. Good player. But Sheldrick is smashing at VFL standards. But again, he seems like that player that smashes at the VFL level, isn't quite up to speed at AFL, which makes it a bit tricky. West Coast, nothing crazy to talk about. We obviously see Tom Gross and Clay Hall doing really good numbers at that second level. So we're hoping that the rotating door that is at West Coast for their rookies, we hopefully see Clay Hall get named because we own him. Let everyone else hold Gross. Don't bring him into the team. Get Clay Hall in. Just do it. Do it, Minnie. McWalter is so annoying. Anyway, and then at Western Bulldogs, we have Trelaw, who is a test. Now, calf strains and calf issues. How long does this last? Who really knows? But this could potentially move out a Kennedy. How does Kennedy's role adjust to make room in the midfield for that? Ed Richards, I'm not worried about. There's really no one else. We've seen Fraser move to the wing. I'm not sure if he's getting CBR. Since I've dropped him, I've dropped the broken fridge. I don't pay attention to him. So I'm not the best to ask about that. But one to watch for sure. Now, the only, again, other consideration is Buslinger, who did, kind of replace Liam Jones. He did his job and got spoils and, contested pretty much, was in the contest to help spoil marks in the 450, which was all that was really brought in to do. But again, we want to see some back-to-back good performances to make sure he kind of holds his spot over Liam Jones. But we'll see what happens. He could easily get bevoed. So that's our injuries, our suspensions. How does that affect our trades? Well, speaking on rookies, we really only have a few. So if we look at who is coming in this round, will give us a good idea as to what people are looking at. So OMAC being the most popular out of all coaches, again, a lot of job security concerns here. You might be bringing in a dead rook. You might play 1 more week until Voss is back for sure. But then what happens after that? You get 1 price rise out of him, then he becomes a red dot. Not really worth it. If we're moving rookies around, we want to make sure we're not replacing a dead rookie with a soon-to-be dead rookie, per se. We want to try and bring in healthy rookies. And the cream of the crop for this week, at least, is Huswaite. Did really well in his first game back, has been dominating in the VFL side of things, has that Nash role, tested possession pig, just loves it. I do love the Huswaite pig. I'm probably, if I am making moves this week, he's my 1 downgrade option. I'm not going to boost or anything like that. But you kind of see where I'm going with that. So the 2 main rookie options are ecstatic. We've got one who's only played 1 game, is not even on the bubble yet, and potentially slides right out of the team when Nash is back. You got Buslinger, who you just want to see more from. Didn't do anything amazing to make us want to grab him this week or go early. It's just unfortunate. Now, you did have Tunstall as well, James Tunstall here. He was sub. So that sub effectiveness doesn't really bode well. Does the job security happen? There's a lot of questions around the pick as well, considering that he is a mature age. He's spent some time in the system. He has played at the AFL level before, but only for a handful of games, and then he's back out the side. And I kind of get the feeling that it's going to be very similar to that. Fills a spot for 3 to 4 weeks, and then bang, he's out. So not really sure how to read that one. Definitely not confident in picking that. In regards to other rookies, there's really no one else that's standing out here. Some people are jumping on a Tom Sparrow. Again, desperate times call for desperate measures. There's Peter Wright as a kind of left field cash grab, who, again, with the injuries that have happened over at the Dons with Brian and Draper, coming in as that tall forward second ruck, scored pretty well. He's got the 145 in his system, got an 89, should do well against North. He'll have some competition in Sherry. And he's probably going to go up against a Combin unless North want to try, Combin being that free-flowing interceptor. But North is a good matchup. He's done well against them previously. I think we can expect a decent game from him as well. Now, if we were to say, let's just say he scores 100 here, he's going to make 47k, maybe around 50k straight out the get, and then he's going to slow down a heap. So I'm not sure if we see him score around the hundreds, for example, for the next few, he can make a little bit of cash. We want at least 100k. So to get that, we'd want to really hold him through these tougher games, get to Richmond and then Brisbane, and then hopefully hold him till he's buy and then flip. So we're hoping to get maybe 120k, maybe around that 500 mark, and then we can flip him up. It's a left field pick for sure, but do note that Essendon have Richmond twice in their lineup. It's great. They only verse West Coast once, and that's done. So Peter Wright, I know Supercoach Pro has been on that pick as well. Who else we got here? We've got Campbell Gray, again, going very early. I'm not confident in that pick at all. Hamish Davis, again, I think people are just bringing out people that might be potentially on the bubble or had a spike game. Elijah Hewitt's one. You're willing to pay that. Again, I don't know if I can trust the rotating doors of rookies at West Coast. A few other shouts that I've seen, I will shout out Rain Man on Twitter because I saw his post before and he mentioned a few. So Rivers is an interesting option. Now, again, he made the comment that the relationship between him playing well versus Melbourne playing well is literally 1-to-1. So if Melbourne play well, he scores well. If they don't play well, he doesn't score well. But we've seen some decent scores from him. We've just seen a really bad flaw. So when Melbourne play poorly, his scoring isn't great either. So it's a tough one to get. You're really hoping for hundreds really with this. So if we were to put him at tons and project, again, we're wanting a minimum 100k from this. So 400, when can he get to 520? It's probably not happening. So I don't necessarily like the pick for Rivers. One that I did like was a Geelong boy, Mana. Now, we had him as a rookie last year. Obviously, elevated price around that 400. But as outside of the 43, he's done very, very well and looks to be getting a lot of the ball. Let's just be careful here. Let's just say it's a 95 average for the remainder. We need him to get to 500k. It's still going to take a while for him to, he's not even going to get there if he averages 95. Let's just say that he averaged, what are the easy matchups? So let's say he gets a 95 average. Let's say he has a peak game against West Coast. Let's maybe say it's a 110. Maybe against Bulldogs, it's a 105. Maybe Collingwood's a 103, just to be safe. We're going to be holding him till basically the bye. So round 16 is where we get him. Again, getting up to that 500k. It's a very left field way of making cash, but given the lackluster amount of rookies, potentially one to look at. Outside of that, I see people talking about Frazier. Disgusting pick, don't do it. Or a Humpty. One pick I do not mind as a value pick is Bowie. Not David Bowie. So he's been playing out of his skin. A low score of 81 so far has been high 90s. And 81 is a low score, 85 is an average score, but being able to get to the ceiling of a 132, now given it is Richmond, but we can see the tougher teams, a 116 and a 116. This is quite promising. And if you need a gap stop for the moment that can kind of be around the mark, or at least consistently until you figure out where everything kind of falls, I don't mind a pick. I definitely know a few people, but again, if you have a Track, you have a Gawn, you have an Oliver, then you get a Bowie. A lot of Melbourne players to have leading into buys. You're probably going to want to move off Oliver. You're probably still going to have Gawn, Track, and Bowie if you've got those three. A bit interesting to have because you've got a ruck out, you might have a forward out, then you've got a defender out. So make sure you apply your buy planning for all this sort of stuff as well. So that's more about the rookies and cash gen side of things. This is for all coaches. We're going to go down to top 5% to see what changes. Who wants to load? Awesome. Thank you, Internet. And the top trade in is Track, which is great. We're obviously going to be looking at getting Track in if we want to jump early. There's Lockie Neal. Great value at what he's doing. His run is very, very nice coming up. We've got Suns now. Why are we on Sean Manor again? Interesting. So his run is he's got Gold Coast, North, Melbourne, Hawthorn, Essendon, Adelaide. Like the tag, he might cop attention for Durham. I doubt Sparrow's not going to do anything against him. But he's going to get around that 600 mark again. But again, we're hoping to see some spike scores. So don't mind the Lachie Neale pick. Gawning as well, paying up for him for those that need him. Maybe potentially point chasing from last week and then this week leading into a Gawn versus Matt Flynn, who we saw Mick absolutely pop off on. Brayshaw again, paying top dollar, not a fan of it. Some people who may have traded out Roberts, trading him back in. I'm not going to say anything about that. Even a Sheasel, bringing him back in. Again, just be very careful about sidewaysing primos because you might be spending more trades than you wish to get them back into your team. We traded out Stewart. Is the only primo we've basically sideways. And that seems to have worked a dime. So in that instance, because it was an injury, his age, it was more of a calculated trade out. Now, mind you, it still is against trading primo, so I could have held and probably should have to focus getting rookies off field, but he has been a very disastrous hold. So we kind of were lucky in that sense. I'm going to say lucky because that's all it is. We only speculate. No one's right or wrong or whatever. It's the ones that traded out got kissed. Simple as that. Who else are we looking at trading in? So Flynn, if you're a bit late, don't mind it. Still, he's got a negative 45 break even. Break in to finish a forward line. Great. Warner as well. Warner's an interesting one. Mills coming back into the team at some point. He's just only over the last 2 games gotten the mid-time that we want to see from him. I don't necessarily trust the pick all that much. I'd much rather a Track or a Rankin, in my opinion. Cleary, again, seeming to have the cash cow necessities. Lindsay as well. What else we got here? Clark is a very underrated trade-in, I believe. If I had enough cash to bring him in over Track, I'm only shy by like 5K. I'd 100% be doing that. And if you happen to be trading out of Chera, which I don't recommend, again, focus on getting rookies off field. I believe that's probably one of the better strategies to have over the long term. If you did, however, want to trade out Chera, I would be trading out all my fat cash cows as well and trying to grab a Track and a Clark together. I've toyed with the idea and it looks perfect. You also have Rosie around a similar price to Clark, but Rosie has that awkward buy, whereas Clark has the beautiful buy. So Clark, still under 10% owned. Couldn't recommend the pick anymore. If Cherry is for whatever reason still suspended, there is a world where I potentially trade him because he's not a keeper, but I'm going to fall back on my logic and hold him. But Clark is a target for us at some point. Dacos, if you want to catch up, some of the big dogs are being brought in. I understand, bit of a pod move. However, what does it do to your team and its cash later down the track? You're going to have a rookie on field for a lot longer doing this, I believe. So I'm not a fan of it. Outside of that, it's whatever. Who are we trading out though? So who are people dropping for these sort of players? Now, Davidson is a perfect trade out. There's no concerns or anything. If you have a Davidson or a Murphy Reed, awesome trade outs. By all means, go one up, one down, bring in a Husway and the primo of your selection. Levi Ashcroft is the one that's going to have a lot of questions asked. And the reason is his break even is very achievable. It's 48. Currently averaging 82 over the last 3 games, a 74 average over the last 5. So it's well within his toolbox to achieve that. However, he's the only vehicle that most have at the moment if you already got rid of a Davidson and a Murphy Reed, or didn't have Murphy Reed like I did. We traded Davidson last week. Ashcroft is our own vehicle to get to a primo this week. Now, is it going to be worth it? This is how I look at it. And this is where it pays to sometimes be aggressive versus not. So, bit of math here. All right, bit of math. Let's just say against Gold Coast, he does his average of 74. He's going to go up only 11K. If he has a spike game of, say, 95, he's going to go up 14K. So 14K, let's be generous. And let's just say he goes up 14K, maybe gets to 300. So maybe let's say 14 to 20K. Let's just say he goes up 20K. If we then look at our target, our primo target of track, and we look at how much he's going to go up by, this will help give you an answer on whether you can go early or whether you should wait. So he's currently priced at $4.97 with a break even of 70, I believe. Let's just make sure of that. 70, awesome, memory works. So he's done 103, 136. So let's just say he does something very similar. It's not going to load it for me because it's dog. Let's just say he does something very similar to last week where he goes like a 120. What can we expect? So if he does, say, a 120, goes up 21K. Now, this means it's kind of a net balance. If you were to wait a week on going to get track in and hold Ashcroft and hope that he has a spike game, you're not really netting anything, because if track goes off for a 120 and he could go higher, he's going to go up 20K. Levi, if he's lucky, is going to go up 20K. I have more faith in track going up 20K than I do Levi going up 20K. This is where it becomes an argument of, well, there's no real difference between trading it now and trading it next week, because everyone's making cash, everyone's cash is changing. Bit of a difference. Now, the other consideration is to who's your other target you're trading out of. Mine would be a Pryor. I'd be moving on a Pryor and Ashcroft to get to a track and a Huswaite. Now, Pryor has a break even of 33. If he scores 65, he's expected to go up 14K. Now, that doesn't necessarily change all that much as well, considering our main target of track is going up 20. So you can kind of split the difference between the two, but if you follow the train of thought, you're not gaining or losing much. So why not do it now? Get the primo in sooner rather than later. Get an extra rookie off field now. You have the West Coast fixture for track, for example. Yes, Levi has a good fixture, as you know, being a Brisbane boy. Brisbane players all have great fixtures. But this is the sort of train of thought on what you can think about in the essence of, do I do it now? Do I do it next week? Do I hold the cash cows for a little bit longer? When I look at this situation verbatim of going, oh, how much is Ashcroft expected to make versus track? I'm doing that trade now. I'm just going to call it now. I'm going to get in a Huswaite. I'm just going to do a 1 up, 1 down, and we're going to call it a day because I want track in my team now. If I get track in, he's going to live in my midfield for a little bit because Cleary's doing pretty well. Hopefully Kako has a spike game so then we can loop him with Hendo, all that sort of stuff. And when rookies do put their hand up, then we can look at focusing on moving Deadwood on. And we should always keep an eye out for when we have that option available. So what are the other trade-in targets though? We've spoken about a few of these trade-in targets. We'll go back to the top 5% and we'll just quickly sign off on trade-outs. So Davidson fine, Ashcroft fine, Reed fine, Chera I would hold. I would be very, very worried if that suspension holds. And he's been very, very good for us. Pryor, fine trade out. Trainer, fine trade out. Law, interesting. 67, yep, trade him out. Very good. Holmes, I wouldn't be trading out of. High break even, yes, but he has proven he's got a ceiling. It's just one of those tricky games. I would be holding Holmes. I would not be trading out of him just because he's about to bleed cash. He's fine. Hold on to him. Same with Rao. Probably an emotional trade out. Hold your primos, guys. Reed, I actually don't mind holding more than Pryor. Reed was definitely the correct choice to hold instead of Pryor, but I digress. Mistake on my end. Short, perfect trade out. Well, I say that instantly because it's Jed and Short. But again, I actually don't mind holding. I don't know how he's been performing lately. Probably not great. Yep, pretty much how I expected. He's getting the worst. He's getting what we would hope from a rookie. So if his worst score is what we hope a rookie would score on a good day, probably just hold him for now. His break even isn't anything. He's not going to lose too much cash, so just hold him for now. Kako is a fine trade out. Moraes, I think you can hold Moraes for a little bit longer if I'm being honest. A spike score is probably due to happen soon. I have Bulldogs as well, and they're playing at Mars. Is there any patterns here? No, but we're due for a spike game. Please, Moraes. Please bless us. Sanders, a fine trade out. Dawson. I don't know if I'd be trading out of Dawson at his bottomed out price. I think you just death ride this. I think you just death ride it. Nevitt is a fine trade out. Dale, I kind of see why. If he's if Dawson or Dale are your stepping stones to get to one of the big boys, maybe a Dacos or a Clark or a Whitfield, sure, I don't hate it. But try to get rookies off field. These guys can bounce back. They've just, again, they just have shocking scores sometimes. Like a 70 is, again, if their lowest score is what we'd hope our rookies to score on a good day, big picture, not worst case, because you have the best case of getting a ceiling score if they have a really good game. Whereas the rookies, their best game is, unless they're like a bias, their best day is an 80. Whereas for Dale, their best day is a 140. So keep that in mind. DeConning, going early, probably to try and get like a Sherry, I imagine. I don't mind it, but Pitnet is nowhere close to being named in the team. Voss will probably ruin that for us this week. Still hold. Still hold. Whatever price Sherry gets up to, just pay it. You'll have enough cash at that point around the buys. Just fine. Arch Reed, perfect trade out. Will Ashcroft, I would say hold. Voss, trade out. Garcia, trade out. Simkin, sure, he's not a keeper. Stepping stone. Merritt, trading out of Merritt? I'm sorry? Why? Don't do this. Whoever this 1.3% is, stop it. And Sarong, stop it. Maxwell's got a little bit more cash. He's just kind of reset his cash, so do not trade him out. And that's all we're going to go for that. So yeah, again, going to be a longer video as always, but you get a really good understanding of the scope of how we should be approaching trades. It's also around this time that we need to start considering our buy structure as well. Round 12 being the most difficult because you have like your Bont and your Butters in the same buy. So really difficult to try to plan for. Some good options, which I unfortunately have in my team that are going to be value over the next 2 weeks. Dunkley is cheap as chips at 5.29. I think that's really good value. He has spent, the CBAs have been a bit weird lately, but I don't think that holds. They need to get back to their form. What they've been doing isn't it. So I find Dunkley will probably get his normal CBAs. Zorko, cheap as chips. I think that's a great option. But again, you might just want to watch. He's not going to get away from you still. He's got a 130 break even. He's not getting away from you. So you can even hold off on Zorko. Whitfield, just under 600, sure. Who else is there? Sinclair's going to be cheap as chips next week. So regardless of what he scores this week, he's losing cash. So if he does what he did last time, does a 110, he's going to lose 25k. You can get him for under 550 next week. That's an absolute bargain. Oliver as well. I don't mind the trade out, but he's also, I do actually mind the trade out. I lied. I'll take it back. Don't trade him out. He's got West Coast. If he shits the bed against West Coast, stepping stone, by all means. He's not a keeper. He's proven that. But again, just hold him. Hold him to the buy if you can. Really dislike him after this week and he doesn't turn up or, really sell us on holding him to the buys. Sure. Trade him out. Go for it. If that's your vehicle to a Sinclair or whatever it is, go for it. By all means. Hall Francis is one that people are definitely going to have to get back in. He's definitely getting to that top out point now, which again, 547. I think that's a great price to get your F1, F2 sorted. McRae and Daniel are ones to watch. They haven't been doing the best lately. We've seen a really, really nice start from McRae, and then he's just kind of regressed to a 70, 104, 77. Just one to watch, especially with Philippou coming back into the team. Be interesting to see what happens. Definitely not a trade out though, but one to watch. Same for Daniel. It's just been around the mark. I mean, look, a low score of 81 is not at all a concern. He's still doing enough. Again, his lowest score that he can get us is what we would love to get from a rookie. Please keep that in mind. Has Essendon. Then he's got Brisbane and Richmond. I expect some spike games in here at some point. But again, if there is a role change or anything like that, then yes, reapproach it, potentially use it as stepping stone. Cleary as well, break even to 7 is going to make a lot more cash, especially if you can keep up this higher scoring as well. So Bradley got him early and just a shame we didn't field him. Won't be making that mistake this week. And we've got the ability to lip with Kako in case Kako has a spike game of 90 or whatever. So, and then Flynn, obviously fine. Lot to talk about. So what am I doing for my trades? Now, as I've spoken about these trades, I've pretty much confirmed what I want to do this week because it just makes sense. I could hold on to Ashcroft. I could hold on to Pryor and have them make a little bit more cash for me. But is that cash actually going to be useful for me next week if, track who I want is going to go up in price? Whereas next week, I could technically try to grab a Dawson or just get, a dead rookie off field. I'm more than happy to have a quiet nick next week to get tracking this week. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to swing Sinclair back into my defensive line, which means I don't field any rookies. I'm going to then grab Husway, my man, and we're going to grab the tractor, Christine Pochaka. And then we're just going to complete our trades. A simple 1 up, 1 down. I'm going to save our last boost for a rainy day. Doesn't give us much in the bank, but that's fine. Glittery's making cash. Lindsay's making cash. Morales is still making cash. Carol's going to make cash. Yes, I don't love having essentially 4 dead rooks, but we're hoping Hall gets a call up. Sard hopefully gets a cut back into the team. Campo will probably just be our perma loop in the midfield. And Henderson as well is probably our perma loop in the forward line for now, until we see some rookies, maybe a mid-season draft come out, and then we can start moving some cash gen around. So with this in mind, awesome stuff. Don't mind it. We get a rookie off field more than anything. We get a seesaw of rookies in the defense off the field, so you have some nice consistency. Hopefully moving Sinclair back into the defensive line fixes him to go big this week against Freo, but we'll see what happens. Overall, I really like the state of my team. There is no need for me to really make changes because the team I had, we didn't have many spikes and we scored very well. If we had scored 2,400 in I dare say a normal week, I don't think last week when we saw all these spike scores was a common week. In a normal week, our team did very, very well. And we didn't have anything too crazy happen either. Our primos just kind of did what they were meant to do. It just so happened that other primos had massive spike scores and we missed out on that. But any other week, 24 is a solid number. We could get away with not doing anything this week and be perfectly fine. I, however, want to be aggressive and get ahead and start making some climb ups in the ranks. So they're going to be my trades. I don't foresee them changing. But again, if you want to see all my last minute trades or final trades, make sure you follow me on X. I will sometimes do a video just in case, but all my final trades are done on X. So make sure you follow me over there at Rookie Coach AFL. And now we're going to get into VCs and Cs. I'm going to try and fly through this because you guys have been here for almost 40 minutes. Crazy. If you've gotten this far, make sure you give the video a like, hit the subscribe button. You guys have been awesome lately. But VCs and Cs. I'm going to Gorn C just because that's a pretty good, easy option against Matt Flynn, shoot, pop off. The VC is tricky though because we need our loops. Saints play on Friday, Carlton play on Saturday, which means we need someone from these earlier games to VC. The only person I really feel comfortable VCing is a Sheasel at the moment. Maybe a Sinclair or McRae against Freo. I don't mind it. If the word is that Sheasel's playing that halfback role where he's been training this week, 100% Sheasel is a lock for a VC. For the Bulldogs, Merritt, of course, a VC. A sneaky VC on like a Martin might be different too. We know he can have his spike scores. But from North, an easy Sherry or Sheasel, I think. LDU, I don't think we've seen enough for that spike score because that's what you really want to try and get. So a Sherry or Sheasel from North is perfect. From Freo and Saints, I think Brayshaw again is always going to be a solid VC choice. Sarong again might cop Winhager, but they could also send him to Brayshaw. So you can't really get an idea there. A left field pick is Clark. I think Clark will have a really good game. Haven't seen a massive spike score from him yet, but I think Clark could potentially pop off. So if you want to take a risk with your VC, put it on Clark. From Saints again, I think you may want Sinclair and McRae. If you have a Marshall, potentially you can try it. He's done very, very well. If he maintains that form, we know what he can do with his ceiling and spike scores. So Marshall's a very, very left field vice captain option. Go for your life. I don't hate Sinclair. I don't hate McRae. They just both have been out of form. There's also word of Sinclair training with the mids and forwards. So with that in mind, I'd probably steer clear of McRae and Sinclair and just go with more of a Freo boy if you got them. But again, doesn't say they're not an option. By all means, go for it, but just don't be surprised if they kind of flatline a little bit. From Saturday, decent game. Obviously, if you got the Bont, you go the Bont, 100%. Outside of that, I think if you got a Butters, awesome. If you got a Rosie's going to be a decent spike score potentially. I don't think he's going to cop attention. He seems to be filling in that halfback role very, very nicely. you could see a 120 to 130 plus in this role in any given time where he's not copying attention. Was able to still turn up with attention in Sydney. So Rosie, I don't mind as a VC. Outside of that, Butters, again, your main one, Bottom Butters, perfect options if you've got them. Very jealous. But for Adelaide and Carlton, if you have Dawson and you are going to beg him to repay the faith, put the VC on him. See what happens. If you got Gawn, awesome. I wouldn't captain any of these options as of yet. All VCs on up until like a late Saturday or Sunday. So this is getting to the afternoon. So I don't mind like a Dawson VC as a bounce back game. Hewitt, obviously, VC worthy. A Walsh potentially as well. And then a Tom De Koning against Adelaide as well. Could be a VC. So don't mind it. A lot of options available there. For Geelong and Collingwood, Dacos, obviously. They might send Atkins to him. Don't know how much that affects him. But just be aware they might try and do a bit of a run with role. May not have influence, but we've seen Dacos do amazing things. So by all means, VC Dacos. Now, I actually don't mind Darcy Cameron as a sneaky VC here as well. Geelong, I probably wouldn't be looking at Holmes or Smith. Smith will probably do well enough, but we want a spike game. I say a Dacos or a Cameron if you're going to go for this game here, if you've got them. If you really want to go a Geelong player, you go Holmes for a bounce back. Because you want a spike game. Smith can do that. They're playing at MCG. If it was GMHBA, I'd say Smith, but we'll see how we go. A lot of options here. So Gawn, Track, Oliver are your main ones. But these are captaincy. So let's just say if you wanted to captain Newcomb because I have Newcomb. If you had Newcomb or Meek and you wanted to use them as your captain, you could VC Gawn, which I would most likely recommend. If you didn't have Gawn and you had Track's probably going to do a decent job for a VC. Or if you wanted to be left field, you go Oliver. Pretty simple. I wouldn't look at anyone at West Coast for any of those options. In regards to this game, I probably wouldn't touch anyone. Whitfield might cop attention, so don't expect a spike score. That's probably about it. And then you've got, again, Newcomb and Meek are probably your main ones that you want to look out for. Dylan Moore has played well. That's definitely a left field option. Nank against Meek. Not too sure. Nate can hold his own, but he just hasn't been looking that great. And he does lead points to other rucks, which is why I like the Meek pick. Again, I'm not sure. You're not really looking at anyone else from Richmond. Brisbane and Gold Coast, I think either the main dogs are perfectly fine. I think a Rao, again, has been lackluster, so I probably want to go him. If you have him, sure. I don't think it's a safe captain option, though. I probably would be looking to captain Gawn before I captain Rao or Anderson at this point. From Brisbane, though, I think a captaincy of Neil is perfectly fine. I wouldn't do Zorko or Dunkley or Will Ashcroft, just because they haven't been in the greatest forms lately. So I would only go Neil if you had him as a captain. But probably that's about it. I probably don't have faith in Rao or Anderson to be a safe captain, because that's all we're looking for. As soon as we get into Sunday games, we're looking for safe captain options. And I've mentioned the ones I would look at. But, my goodness, 44 minutes in. If you guys made it this far, make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you comment down below who your trade outs are, who your trade ins are, and who you're going for with VC and Cs for this week. Big day and big week ahead of us. Big day being tomorrow, because we get to find out if Shearer is going to be suspended for 1 week or not. But looking forward to it nonetheless. Again, Supercoach After Dark this Saturday night after the last game, which will be West Coast versus Melbourne. So we'll actually get to either cry together about our failed Gawn captain, or celebrate together and be very traumatic, and have a therapy session online for those that, again, maybe missed a day course or a Bont or Butters and so on and so forth. You know how the After Dark streams are. They get a bit wild. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Turn that noti bell on to be notified when we do go live and when content does get uploaded. And with all of that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.